Okay, everybody, let's begin today's presentation. My name is Dana Shibley, and I'm with Verifyle. First off, I want to just say that all of us here at Verifyle are very pleased about the partnerships that we now have in place with NATP. And as NATP members, all of you should know that you now get access to a premium version of Verifyle, which is Verifyle Gold, at a substantial discount. And of course, there's no charge at all to anyone at all that you share information with using your Verifyle Gold system. You get access to the full suite of capabilities in Verifyle Gold, including the ability to brand it as you would like, and also unlimited electronic signatures at no charge. Quick caveat here, I am not a tax or accounting expert. However, today I'm going to be showing you some general sharing examples to really stress the key concepts for use behind Verifyle and get you up and rolling with it very quickly and easily. For demonstrations such as this, I would imagine that some of you have pen and paper in hand, or you're ready to take notes on how to use Verifyle and so on and so forth. But what will serve you best is if you really just sit back and grasp some of the key concepts behind using Verifyle, and then you'll be up and rolling with it very quickly and easily. All right, there are already a number of professionals using Verifyle around the world, many of them for secure sharing purposes, others for secure storage purposes. Many professionals use Verifyle to securely share information selectively with their internal colleagues, and others use Verifyle exclusively for selectively sharing sensitive information back and forth with their clients. We'll go through a number of these different examples. Some quick background information on Verifyle. We're based in Silicon Valley, and we are led by Jack Smith, who is the individual who invented and co-founded the company Hotmail, which was many people's first experience with both email and the internet, and ultimately grew to about 500 million users. He also had lead roles with two successful digital security companies, Ironport and Proximex. Verifyle is all about making communication better. And we see two key aspects of communication. Those are security and productivity, neither of which should come at the expense of usability. The reason we place such persistent emphasis on security is that we believe the near-term future of business will continue to be characterized by two types of organizations and professionals. Those who successfully make that extra effort to protect and secure their own information and that of their constituents and continue to reap the long-term trust relationship benefits that derive from that, and those who do not make that extra effort and see a gradual erosion in those trust relationships. We believe the dividing line between those two types of professionals is going to continue to really crystallize over the next several years, and we want to make sure that all of our users fall on the positive side of that line. So you might be asking yourself, what exactly is Verifyle? Verifyle is ultra-secure messaging and document sharing and storage all on a single screen, where in that single screen, for each situation that you're working on, whether that be a client engagement, project management, or any kind of sharing or storage of sensitive information, you can see exactly who has access to what information and if and when any single individual has looked at or downloaded any single piece of information. So you always have a very heightened sense of situational awareness, not only in terms of what you see on your side with respect to that communication, but in terms of what's happening on the other side of that communication as well. Think of Verifyle as your all-in-one communication power tool, specifically designed for those situations that you have to be absolutely on top of, that must be well organized, and above all, private and secure. Now, in our secure single screen, we've incorporated the most powerful components of email, cloud file sharing, unlimited electronic signatures, and our patented encryption key management technology, Cellucrypt, which manages the interaction of 6 different encryption keys for each time that any single individual interacts with any piece of information inside of Verifyle. So each data element inside of Verifyle has been individually encrypted, such that even if somebody were to break past our encryption, which they won't, all they would be able to access would be that single data element, and that's it. There's no potential for someone to break into Verifyle and scoop mass amounts of data to gain what we call bulk access, as they have done recently with so many systems in both the public and private sectors, including Anthem to the tune of something like 80 million individuals' data files, and Equifax to the tune of something like 146 million individuals' data files. With Verifyle, there's no real incentive for someone to try and hack in the first place because there's not that potential for a large-scale return on that hacker's efforts. So this is a major reduction in risk for anyone who uses Verifyle. In fact, we would go as far as to say that it's a complete game changer in terms of your overall information risk profile. And we'll talk more about how this impacts you directly as we dive into the actual demonstration now. As we do so, please bear in mind that I will be acting as Dana Shibley, the tax professional, and that even though Verifyle is backed by all this technology, by all this encryption, as users, we don't need to create any encryption keys, memorize any encryption keys, manage or share any encryption keys at all. It all happens automatically, completely behind the scenes for us. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so you should now all be able to see the sign-in screen for Verifyle, which you can access using any of the major browsers. It doesn't matter whether you're using a Mac or a PC or a tablet computer. You should also feel welcome to use our handy mobile app as well. All right, so this is a sign-in screen for Verifyle, and I'm going to go ahead and sign in here using my email address and password. All right. So I'm going to click next here, and I have selected the option inside of Verifyle such that an authenticator code is being requested of me. The authenticator code is a code that appears on my mobile device, in this case, my mobile phone, and it changes every 30 seconds. The benefit, of course, of using such an additional factor of authentication is that even if somebody does somehow get a hold of my password, they still won't be able to access my Verifyle system unless they also have my mobile phone. All right, and I do have the option to click in this little box right here, which essentially informs the Verifyle system. Hey, Verifyle, if in the future when you can see that there's a sign-in attempt and it's coming from the device that I'm using right now and the browser that I'm using right now, there's no need to ask for the additional authentication code. But if that's not the case, then definitely ask for that code. And by the way, you do have an option to have that code sent to you via text if you would like. All right, I'm going to go ahead and type in that code. And now I'm inside of Verifyle. Okay, the first thing that you should notice is up at the top center of the page, you can see the NATP logo. Okay, you can swap out that logo for any logo of your choosing by simply clicking on your name at the top right and then going into the account settings area and adding your own logo. All right, the second thing I want to point out to you from the home screen of Verifyle here is that there are essentially two major areas inside of the Verifyle system. There is the Workspaces area, which we're in right now, and you can see that demonstrated by the fact that the Workspaces tab is highlighted. Let's begin by going into the Contacts area. So I'm going to click on the Contacts tab, click, and now I can see all of my contacts inside of Verifyle, any one of which I can click on at any time to bring front and center a private messages one-to-one communication between me and that other individual, where I can type any message that I would like to that person and also click on the paperclip symbol to upload any file I would like to that person. And that person is going to see the same interface on their side. Let's take a realistic example here. Let's say that I meet a new person and her name is Christine Carson, and I want to immediately begin communicating securely with her. Okay, all I need to do is click on the plus symbol right here in the Contacts tab, and I'm going to go ahead and type in her name and email address, just like that. And then I click add. And now you can see that the Verifyle system has added Christine Carson's name to my contacts list. And there's a private messages area that has opened up between me and Christine. I'll type a message to her, just like that. And I'll go ahead and click on the paperclip symbol here to upload a file to her securely. Let's say I want to share with her an annuity policy document. Okay, just like that. And now I will click send. That information is all encrypted as it is pulled into Verifyle, and there I can see the message that I typed and also the document that I uploaded. I can see that same document expanded on over here on the right, where I can do a number of different things to it. We'll take a look at that a little bit down the road. But for right now, the most important thing to keep in mind is that as I added this information to Verifyle, the Verifyle system has automatically, behind the scenes, sent an email alert to Christine Carson that lands in her regular old-fashioned email box, right? And it informs her that I, Dana Shibley, the tax professional using the secure system Verifyle, am sharing with her an annuity policy document and also a private message, which await her securely inside of Verifyle. She cannot access that actual information from inside of that email alert that she received. That's only an alert, right? We don't want to be sharing sensitive information back and forth using email because email is not secure. But she can click on the link in that email alert, which will bring her directly into Verifyle, where she can create her own password and instantly be able to access this information, and then choose to either take a look at or download that annuity policy, okay? And if she does either of those things, I will instantly receive an alert to that effect, letting me know that she has accessed that document, okay? And that access instance will also be logged for me to refer to anytime that I would like, all right? So I know what's happening on that side of the communication. Let's go ahead and sign in as Christine Carson to see exactly what this experience looks like for her. So I'm now acting as Christine Carson. I would have received that email alert inviting me into Verifyle, or if I was already inside of Verifyle, like I am right now, as Christine Carson, the potential client, I would have first seen this internal alert. And I can click here on contacts. I, Christine, clicked here on contacts, and I can see that I have a private message from my tax professional, Dana Shibley. Here it is right here. Okay, and as I mentioned, I, as Christine, can either take a look at or download that document, and Dana will know about it. Okay, and I can type a message back to Dana, something to the effect of, thanks, Dana. Please bring my spouse into this communication as well. Okay, and I have the option to click on the paperclip symbol right here and upload a file back to Dana if I would like. So this is the same simple interface here that Dana sees on his side. Okay, so as Christine, I'm going to go ahead and click send here. Now I'm going to go back in and look again as Dana, the tax professional. Okay, so I'm back in as Dana, the tax professional, and I can see here the message that Christine has typed back to me. Okay, so that's simple sharing messages and documents back and forth with anybody in Verifyle, the most fundamental function inside the system, right? And all I need to do to kick that off is click on the plus symbol right here and add someone's name and email address to benefit from all that security and encryption that I told you about earlier. So for your simpler clients, where you're not moving that much information back and forth, you might be fine working with those clients right out of the contacts area inside of Verifyle. Whereas you can see later, I'll be able to request signatures and so on and so forth. Okay, but let's pause for a second here. Let's just say that I'm getting some signals from Christine Carson that she may actually have quite a lot of financial things going on and may need quite a lot of advice or help from me with regard to her tax issues. For example, she's already asking me to bring another person into the communication, her spouse, but she's talked to me about bringing in a business partner of hers and also an attorney that she has on hold that helps her with her estate planning issues. All right, so now we're suddenly talking about tax planning, possibly some estate issues. And she's also mentioned to me that she holds some property that happens to be out of state. Okay, so this is potentially a deep client, deep communication needs situation. All right, because I might want to have different people involved in those different topical communications, those different what we call threads for example, estate planning, tax planning, out-of-state investments, et cetera, et cetera. There might be different people that need to be involved in those different communications, including an attorney, a business partner, or husband, et cetera, et cetera. And there will be potentially different documents and different messages flying back and forth in each of those communications. These are all signs to me that I should probably create a workspace so that I can take advantage of those deeper communication needs. So I'm going to click on the Workspaces thread, click. And now I can see here the workspaces that I've already created inside of Verifyle. Again, these tend to be situations where there's a lot of information moving back and forth, potentially among multiple people, not just between two people, right? And there are potentially different topics as well. So I want to create such an environment for Christine Carson. So how do I do that? How do I create a workspace? You probably guessed it. I just click on the plus symbol in the Workspaces tab, and I'm going to call this workspace Client Christine Carson, just like that. There we go, Client Christine Carson. Okay, and notice that it is the host of this workspace is me, Dana Shibley. Why is it me? Because I'm the creator of this workspace. I am also the conductor or quarterback of this workspace, if you will. In other words, I am the only person who can decide who is going to be in this Client Christine Carson workspace, and I'm also the only person who can remove people at any time from the Client Christine Carson workspace, because the people involved here might change over time, right? There might be a new business partner. She might break up her relationship with her old business partner, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm the only person who can add and take away new topics, threads from this workspace. So let me go ahead and click on the workspace, Client Christine Carson, click, there we go. So we're inside of the Client Christine Carson workspace now. There's nothing in here because we haven't put anything in here. But the Verifyle system is prompting me to add a guest. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to first, of course, add Christine Carson. So I'll do a search for her. There she is right there. And I add her. Now Christine Carson has been added as a guest to the Client Christine Carson workspace. And the Verifyle system has recognized that I had already begun a one-to-one private messages communication with Christine Carson over in the contacts area, and that it might be very convenient for me to be able to add information to and access this one-to-one secure stream of communication between me and Christine Carson, even though I'm inside of the workspace environment now, okay? But remember, the reason that we created this workspace in the first place was so that we could take advantage of some of those deeper communication needs. And I can do that by using workspace threads. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol right here, and I'm going to create a workspace thread called tax planning, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to create a second workspace thread called estate planning, like that. Okay, let's start by going into the tax planning workspace thread. So when I click on it, it becomes front and center here in the center column. Tax planning, no guests have access yet. I need to tell Verifyle who I want to have access to the tax planning workspace thread. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to come over here, and so this is an important thing for you to mentally make note of. In Verifyle, wherever you are, if you move your cursor around, you'll see these little gear icons pop up, okay? And keep in mind this corny little jingle, when things are unclear, go to the gear, okay? Very corny, so you can remember it. But if I click on the gear symbol here and I click on Manage Permissions, I get to decide who's going to get access to the tax planning workspace thread. So I click Manage Permissions and I give Christine Carson access just like that. So she will have access to the tax planning workspace thread. But remember, in the one-to-one communication, the private messages communication that I had with Christine Carson, click, she asked me to bring her spouse into this communication as well. And I know that she was referring to tax planning issues. So I'll go to the tax planning workspace thread. I will click on the gear icon again. I'll click on Manage Permissions, and I'm going to add her husband, okay? He's not going to be in the list of people that I've communicated with in the past because I've never communicated with him before. So I'm going to add his name. Like that, okay? And there's Sammy's spouse. I click Add One. And now I can see that Christine and Sammy will both have access to the tax planning workspace thread, along with me, of course, right? Because I'm creating all this. All right, so I'll type a message to them. Let's work on taxes, okay? Okay, and I'll click on the paperclip symbol and let me add in a few tax documents. I'll add in that, and then I will go ahead and add in, let's see, add in a few more tax documents here. How about a Schedule A document and a 1040. All right, so I can drag and drop those documents in, by the way, just like that. And now I can click send. That information is all encrypted as it's pulled into the Verifyle system. Okay, so I can see the documents all here, and I can see the documents here as well. All right, and so I'm sharing that information with Christine and Sammy's spouse. Let's do the same thing with estate planning. I'll click on the estate planning thread, which brings it front and center here. And I will click on the gear icon and click on Manage Permissions to give access to both Christine Carson and Sammy's spouse. Now they both have access. And let's say I got another message from Christine Carson that she wants to pull in her attorney, her estate planning attorney, to these communications. No problem. I go to the gear, click on Manage Permissions, and I pull in her attorney, her estate planning attorney. Let's say that's Lisa Lawyer. So I add Lisa Lawyer, and now she has access as well. So I'll go ahead and type in a message here. Let's work on estate issues. And then maybe I type a message to the new attorney here, attorney Lisa. Welcome, Lisa. And I click on the paperclip symbol to pull in some estate planning documents. How about asset allocation? And let's pull in a few more estate planning documents. How about business succession map and fiduciary agreement, last will and testament, and life insurance policy. Okay, sound like estate planning documents. I'll put those documents in like that, and I click send. Okay, so I'm sharing those 5 different documents with Christine, her estate planning attorney, Lisa Lawyer, and also her spouse, Sammy's spouse here. Okay, so you can see how I'm using these workspace threads to share different information with different clusters of people. Okay, and there's one more thing I'd like to add in here. It occurs to me that it sure would be useful to have a place where I could put information for my reference alone in this client Christine Carson workspace that nobody else has access to. How do I do that? Well, I go here, I click on the plus symbol and create a new workspace thread that I will call my stuff or my reference materials. Okay. All right. My reference materials. Here's my reference materials workspace thread. No guests have access yet. I don't want anybody to have access. This is going to be just for me to access. So I'll click on the paperclip symbol here and I'll pull in a few documents. How about I decide to pull in budget forecast document, and let's pull in a couple more things here. How about a cash flow report and a F940 document? Okay, so pull those 3 documents in just like that. And then I click send. I'm not actually sending these to anybody else because I'm not sharing with anybody. I'm just adding them to Verifyle. So I click send. Now you can see that those documents reside inside of Verifyle for my access alone. They're essentially in secure encrypted storage protected by the same encryption that all the other documents are that may happen to be getting shared with other people. Okay, so all this information is at my fingertips. Nobody else can see it unless I decide later to share it with somebody by going to the gear symbol, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, all right, so the way you should think about these workspace threads is essentially as dynamic subfolders within the larger framework of the workspace called Client Christine Carson. Okay, so I can share information using these workspace threads, different documents, different messages with different clusters of people or with nobody at all, just for my reference, right? And this allows me to give a customized view of Verifyle to different people associated with my client Christine Carson. And as you've probably also figured out, I can communicate one-to-one with any of the people in these workspace threads by simply clicking on their name in the guests area if I would like. Okay, let's see what all this looks like from the client Christine Carson's perspective. So I'm now Christine Carson, the client, right? Okay, I would have received an email alert that there's something new in Verifyle. for me, or if I was in Verifyle, I first would have seen these internal alerts. So I click here on Client Christine Carson. Okay, and inside, so I'm now inside the Client Christine Carson workspace, which Dana controls from his side, right? So there's Dana's name. I can click on his name right here anytime in order to open up the one-to-one communication with Dana, right? All right, but let's take a look at these workspace threads. And first of all, I'd like to point out that as Christine Carson, the client, I only see 2 workspace threads here. I don't see the 3rd workspace thread called My Reference Materials that Dana has created because he hasn't given me access. He doesn't want me to see that information. Okay, he only wants me to see these 2 workspace threads. And in fact, if Dana is really on his game and I'm a super important client of his, and I would really appreciate him giving me a professional organization, kind of a portfolio view of my tax matters, he might also be sharing with me workspace threads called Taxes 2022, Taxes 2021. And if I'm in real estate, there might be a workspace thread called Depreciation Schedules. If I have foreign investments, there might be a workspace thread called Foreign Investments, et cetera, so that whenever I, the very important client of Dana, sign into Verifyle, I'm not just seeing a stream of information or things scattered all over the place. I see that he's organized it for me with the appropriate documents and messages in each of those workspace threads and the appropriate people brought in, which he manages, right, with my direction to him, Dana, et cetera, et cetera. Certainly not all your clients are going to appreciate that, but I bet that some of them, those most demanding ones that you're doing a lot of work for, probably would. Okay, so back to the mindset of client Christine Carson specifically. Inside the tax planning workspace thread, I can click on the documents here or over here to clear the alerts. Okay, either way. And if I go into the estate planning workspace thread, similarly, I can go ahead and clear the alerts. And let's say that for one of the documents, in particular, the life insurance policy, I want to take a close look at it. So I click on the life insurance policy, and first I decided to just take a quick look at it. Okay, that just sent an email alert to Dana, letting him know that I have accessed that document and a log of that access instance is available to Dana. Okay, and then if I subsequently decide, you know what, I want to look at this really closely and take a long time doing that tonight, so I'm going to download this document as well, that also just sent an email alert to Dana to that effect. Okay, so he knows that I've taken a look at that document. Now, as I'm in here, let's say I'm taking a close look at the estate planning workspace thread here, and let's say that we're a few months down the road and there are dozens and dozens of documents in here and maybe hundreds of time and date stamped messages from the 4 different participants, right? Me, Christine Carson, Dana, my tax professional, Lisa, lawyer, and also Sammy, spouse. And I, Christine Carson, come to conclude, you know what, that attorney, Lisa, lawyer, is not adding a lot of value, and she sure is expensive. I don't want her involved in my estate planning any longer. Can I remove her from this estate planning workspace thread? No, I cannot, because I'm also a guest, just like she is. Only Dana can remove people from this estate planning workspace thread. So I can type a message to Dana telling him to remove the attorney, Lisa, lawyer, but that might be a little bit blunt since Lisa might see that message here, right? But I can click on the one-to-one message, the private message that I have with Dana, and then let Dana know something to the effect of, get rid of this attorney, Lisa. Perhaps stated a little more gracefully. Okay, so I'm telling Dana that I don't want this attorney to be involved in my planning any further. Okay, so now let's go back and look from Dana's perspective, all right? Okay, so I'm back in as Dana, the tax professional, and I can see here that Christine Carson is telling me to get rid of the attorney, Lisa, okay? So I know that the only place that I have any attorney in the workspace for client Christine Carson is in the estate planning workspace thread. So I click on the estate planning workspace thread, and I can see here that Lisa, in fact, has access, and I'm going to remove her access. How do I do that? When things are unclear, go to the gear. Okay, so I go to the gear symbol right here, click Manage Permissions, and I remove Lisa Lawyer's access just like that. Now you can see she no longer has access to all of the messages and documents that are in here, right? Okay, and let's say that Christine Carson calls me and tells me she has a new estate planning attorney. and she wants that person to be immediately involved in this workspace thread. So I go back to the gear symbol, click on Manage Permissions, and I'm going to add that new attorney, and let's say that that new estate planning attorney is Lonnie Lawyer. All right, so I add Lonnie Lawyer, and now I can see that Lonnie Lawyer now has access to what would be the dozens of documents and hundreds of time and date stamped messages that are inside of here. So the point I'm trying to make to you is in about 20 seconds, I can literally take that entire historical transcript of information related to estate planning for client Christine Carson, and I can move it from one person to another. So we swapped out one estate planning attorney for the next estate planning attorney. And this new estate planning attorney, Lonnie Lawyer, would, of course, see all that historical information, including any messages or documents that were added by the prior attorney, Lisa Lawyer. And then I could write a message to Lonnie, something to the effect of, hey, Lonnie, let's talk at the end of this week. So that by then, hopefully you will have read everything in here and you can advise us with regard to your perspective or your assessment of estate planning for client Christine Carson. Okay, imagine trying to move all that information over that cleanly when you're using email and email attachments. It would be darn near impossible, right? In Verifyle, it's very simple. You can also imagine moving it from one employee of yours to a new employee of yours or something to that effect. Okay, so I think you have the idea there. All right, the other thing I want to check out is that life insurance policy. Okay, notice as I'm moving the cursor here, I see different gear icons. And if I click on any of the gear icons, I'll see a number of different options. Well, one of those options is to see who's looked at that life insurance policy. So I'll click on the gear icon right here. And then I'm going to click on View Access History because that is a peculiar life insurance policy and it has interesting implications for taxation. So I click on View Access History for the life insurance policy. I can see Sammy Spouse has not yet accessed it, nor has Lonnie Lawyer. That's okay. He just got access a few minutes ago, right? Christine Carson has looked at it 2 times. And if I click here, I can see the exact dates and times that Christine Carson accessed the life insurance policy. Okay. And in fact, if she had accessed this 25 times over the last several weeks or whatever, I would see every single one of those access instances here. And if she's looked at this document many, many times, that's a great tip-off to me that there's probably an opportunity for me to add some value for her there, right? Similarly, if I can see that she accessed a particular document 15 minutes ago and I have a call scheduled with her in 25 minutes, well, I better be on my toes and be prepared to answer questions about that particular document. So she's looking at it, she's thinking about it, right? So all of these things help heighten my situational awareness with respect to what's going on the other side of the communication and help me be best prepared to service my client. Similarly, whether you're in a one-to-one private messages communication or inside of a workspace thread like I am right now, you can click on someone's name and see when they were last inside of the thread, regardless of whether or not they've added any information, okay? So I can see Lonnie Lawyer has not been inside of here yet, but Christine Carson was last in here on Thursday, November 16th at 9:33 a.m. Of course, you're seeing my screen, so all of you are seeing Pacific time, right? So at a minimum, this gives me a sense of the recency of this information in my client's mind, helping me have a more holistic sense of the entire communication, not just my side of the communication. Okay, so let's move ahead here. You are tax professionals. You are going to use the electronic signatures capability inside of Verifyle, I'm sure. So let's show an example. I'm now inside the tax planning workspace thread, okay? And I'm going to type a message here. Please sign this document. Okay, I'll click on the paperclip symbol here, and let's say that I pull in the engagement letter for signature. Please cut me a break. I know you probably would have done this earlier on. All right, now, if I click send here, you know now that that would simply be sharing that document with Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse. But if I want a signature, I put a check in this request signing box right here, and then I click send. All right, do I want them both to sign this document? Yes, I want both of them to sign this particular document. And in fact, I want Christine Carson to sign it first. Okay, so I click next. All right, and I have a couple questions to answer. do I want the signer, Christine Carson, to agree to terms? Here are the terms that are in here, and I can change these terms to be whatever I would like. I'm going to leave them the same. Okay, and I do have the option to save these as default terms as well. I do want Christine to agree to these terms before she's allowed to sign. And yes, I do want her to have to input a one-time signature code as part of the signing process. All right, so in order to do that, I need to add a phone number, her mobile phone number, at which she can receive that one-time signature code. So I'm going to go ahead and type that mobile phone number in here, and then click next. And then for the next signer, Sammy Spouse, I'm going to do the same thing. I want him to sign electronically. And yes, I want him to go through the one-time signature code verification process. All right, so I click continue here. Now for the actual document itself, let me expand it a little bit to make it easier to work with. Okay, for the first signer, Christine Carson, I'm going to move my mouse, which moves the cursor on my screen. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to draw a rectangle where I want a signature to be for Christine Carson, right? I can click in the box, by the way, and choose whether I want it to be signature, initials, a particular date format, or whether I want that to be a custom field. I do want that to be a signature, so I'll leave that as is. And let's say I want this next area to be a date in that format for Christine Carson. Those two things. All right, now I click next signer. And for the next signer, Sammy Spouse, all right, I'm going to go ahead and draw a signature box here for him. And let's say, for example, that I want his initials here, just for example. All right. And then before I move forward here, I want to point out to all of you that I do have the option to create a template of this signature process, right? So I might save this template as engagement letter for couple. Okay, or if it was just a single person that I needed a signature from, I might call it engagement letter for individual, right? And that way, whenever I call up this document for my several hundred other clients, I don't have to go in and redraw the boxes in the same places. I can just call up that template and it'll automatically put the right boxes in the right place for me. Okay, so that's easy to do. All right, and all right, so I've drawn the boxes where they need to be. I'm now going to click Finish Request. Okay, and I click Submit in order to move forward. And now I can see here that Christine has been notified that she needs to sign the engagement letter inside of Verifyle. So I'm going to go in as Christine Carson now. I'm back in as Christine Carson, the client, and I can see here, and I would have received an email alert to this effect as well, right? But I can see here I'm being requested to sign the engagement letter. Okay, I click here to review and sign. So I, Christine Carson, first of all, agree to do business electronically. I click yes. If I don't click yes, I will not be allowed to sign the document. I click yes here, and I can read here that the person requesting my signature is asking that I input a one-time passcode. And I need to click here in order to get that one-time signature code, that passcode, okay? So I click here. All right, and now I, Christine Carson, the signer of this document, I'm going to check on my mobile phone to get that code. All right, I've received the code. All right, and I'm going to put it in here. And I click Submit, and then I confirm the signature. Okay, I'm inside the document here, and I click Confirm for my signature to go here. And I click Confirm that yes, the date can go here per my tax professional's request, or Dana's request. So I click here. All right, and now I can see, Christine Carson, can see that I've signed the engagement letter. And Sammy Spouse has been notified that he can sign now as well. We're not going to go through that same process with Sammy. It's the same process that he would go through as well, of course. Okay, so let's go back in and let's look from Dana's perspective. I'm back in as Dana, the tax professional. I can see that Christine has signed the engagement letter document, and I can click on it here, or I can click over here. I'm going to click on the engagement letter document here. I'm going to click Preview, and I'll expand it a little bit so it's easier to look at. I'll scroll down, and here I can see where Christine has signed and dated the document. Okay, And it's also important for me to point out that I can at any time click on the gear icon here and I can view signing info. When I click on view signing info, I can see here for the document signing audit report that information metadata related to me requesting the signature of Christine Carson is here, and also information related to Christine Carson signing is here as well, including her successfully passing the verification process and agreeing to do business electronically, and also capture of her IP address per IRS requirement. Okay, and I can print this out in either PDF soft copy or hard copy anytime that I would like. And yes, after her spouse, Sammy's spouse, signs this document, then he will become part of the document signing audit report as well. Okay, so while we're in here doing this, I also want to point out to you that you can, for any document, go ahead and preview it. And you can choose to click on this little pencil icon right here, which gives you unlimited document editing in the form of being able to change the order of pages in a document, and also being able to click on the X to delete pages in any document. You can also click Add Annotation in order to go ahead and annotate any document as you would like. All right, like that. And you can also merge multiple documents into a single document if you would like. All right, some of you are probably paying money to do those types of things in other places. All right, so I'll go ahead and close this out. Okay, so I want to pause for a second here and point out something very important. Most people begin using Verifyle because of a lot of the security things that I told you about. But if you talk to people who've been using it for a couple of months, they will tell you how easy it is for them and their clients to use and how productive of a tool that it is. And that stems largely from the Workspace environment that we've created here, where we can see all the key people involved and the key topics, and there might be several more that we would have put in here for client Christine Carson, and also key documents. And this is kind of all captured in this single pane of glass, if you will, so that I can very quickly and easily wrap my head around the client Christine Carson situation, which helps make all of this more tangible for me, which helps me think more strategically in terms of how to move this situation forward, as opposed to focusing on task A, task B, task C, and so forth. So this is extremely useful. In fact, in the area of the country where we are here in Silicon Valley, there are tons of companies that will try and convince you that, oh, you know, really powerful software has all these different modules and these different things, and you pull them together and it's super powerful. But you know, the fact is that nothing could be farther from the truth. The reality is that great software is software characterized by allowing you to understand more while looking at less. That's what great software does. And it allows you to accomplish more while doing less, okay? So the Workspace environment dramatically helps with that. Yeah. And again, you would probably create Workspaces only for those clients that you're doing deep communications with, right? And for the more simple clients, you could work with their information right out of the contacts area where we started, right? Okay. So another thing that's great about Workspaces is they serve as a wonderful digital cue card. In other words, if you're doing various tax work and you have a client that calls you out of the blue that you haven't talked to in 2 months, and in that interim, you've talked to 500 other people about 500 other issues, and suddenly one client calls you out of the blue and immediately starts talking about some rarely referenced tax law and some rarely used tax document, it sure is nice that you can think, oh, Christine Carson, that's right. And you can click on the Workspace, right? The client Christine Carson Workspace, and immediately see all the key people involved, what the key topics are, and key documents, and so on and so forth, and quickly snap your mind back to that place where you can immediately be on track and able to add value to that client, as opposed to thinking, okay, what was I doing with her, et cetera, et cetera. So it serves as a wonderful digital cue card in that way, in terms of having all that information in one place. Okay, so a question that comes up quite often, and I'm sure I'll see this in the questions area, is that people ask how to organize the order of workspaces and or contacts. For either of those, you can at any time go over to this little tab here on the right that allows you to sort. And so I can here sort my contacts by first name alphabetical, by last name alphabetical, or by updated date, which is basically recency. That's how I like to have my information. You can do the same thing with your workspaces as well. Okay, so moving ahead here, I want to show you some workspaces that I've created in advance. Okay, one of those workspaces is Company ABC, Financial Reports and Records. Okay, so this might be for a small business that you're helping out. And if I click in this workspace here, I can see Company ABC is the name of the workspace, right? And I can see various key employees here, any one of which I can click on at any time to open up a secure one-to-one communication with that particular individual. But I've also created workspace threads here to share selected documents with selected individuals, right? Okay, grouped according to whatever the topic of the workspace thread is. All right, an example that probably hits home more accurately for many of you is this situation here where I have a particular family, the Rockefeller family, and let's say that they have a lot of things going on. Okay, they've got foreign investments, they've got a business partnership in another state, there are estate planning issues, et cetera, et cetera. It's a high net worth family, perhaps, and I'm doing some deep work with them. I'm going to click on this workspace, okay? And let's say that my main contact is Ricky Rockefeller, okay? And I've set up a number of workspace threads for him, including a legal requirements workspace thread that's being selectively shared with different people in his world, a cash flows workspace thread, and also an estate planning workspace thread, okay? And you can see here that my key contact, Ricky Rockefeller, has got some interesting documents here, including a life insurance policy, a last will and testament, and an asset list document that many people in his immediate and extended network of family members are quite interested, including his sister, Rhonda Rockefeller, and his stepsister, Susie's stepsister, okay? He's also got people in his professional services network that are very interested in this information, including Ed Executive, his business partner, Larry Lenderbank, his banker, and Arnold Advisor, his financial advisor, let's say. Okay, now, certainly, I am going to, in my communications with Ricky Rockefeller, be the best tax professional that I can possibly be, right? And he expects that of me. But above and beyond what's expected of me, there is a very ripe and sticky opportunity here for me to become a professional steward of his information out to his network of family members and professional services provider on a need-to-know basis, where I can control exactly who gets access to what information and have confirmation over who has access to what information. And of course, all of this done in conjunction with tight communication with Ricky Rockefeller. But this position of also serving as a professional steward of this sensitive information out to his network puts me in an incredibly indispensable position with respect to working with him, right? And also has the side benefit of giving me exposure to other people in his network, some of whom might actually recognize and appreciate the level of presentation and professionalism that I use in communicating with them, and decide that they want me to be involved in their tax planning, financial planning as well going forward. Okay, so it's a way for me to add value above and beyond what's expected. And I believe that this is a way of thinking that all of us, me included as a professional services provider, need to think in terms of finding ways to add value to really stay hyper competitive in the market that we all work in. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home screen here. And from the home screen, again, I want to just emphasize that, as you all know, you can click on contacts to add someone very quickly to Verifyle and immediately be communicating with them securely on a one-to-one basis. But if you click on this plus symbol right here, you do have the option to bulk import contacts using the CSV file format, which is the standard file format that software companies use to export and import contact information. And if you use this, then you will immediately be able to populate your entire contact list and simply click on people's names in order to securely communicate one-to-one with any of them. Also, when you build out Workspaces, it will be very quick and easy to do so without having to each time worry about typing in individuals' names and then typing in their email address and so on and so forth. If you want to see a quick video on how to do that, simply go to youtube.com and type in Verifyle contacts. You'll see a very brief video there that shows you how to bulk import contacts. And if you need any help, just email us at support@verifyle.com. Okay, the other area that I should show you real briefly is that if you click on your name at the top right and go into the account settings area, here's where you can do a number of things, including changing your name, changing your email address, changing your electronic signature, swapping out the NATP logo for any logo of your choosing. You can also create your public upload page here. Your public upload page is essentially a custom web page, which would carry your logo and a custom message by you. And anybody could use that page to securely share information back and forth with you. Okay. For that custom web page, you would create a handle. So my handle might be Taxes by Dana or Best Tax Pro in California, Dana, or whatever I want it to be, as long as nobody has taken it. And that handle also serves as a link that I can put in my email signature or on my website that anybody can click on to be able to securely share information with me. I can see here that I'm using a tiny storage used. I can see I'm using a tiny fraction of 1% of my overall ValueCrypt storage allotment. Okay, and here, automatically send alerts is on. This is what automatically sends alerts to anyone that I add information for inside of Verifyle and any intended recipients. I recommend that you all leave this on. Document activity alerts. This is what allows me to see if someone has looked at or downloaded any information. It allows me to receive those email alerts informing me of that, right? Message edit is at the default setting of on. I do have the ability to turn this off, which makes it so that for the workspace threads of any workspaces that I host, the information in there will no longer be editable. Okay, so that's a choice for you to make. Blocking people in Verifyle is not a bad thing. That simply makes it so that you will not receive that external email alert when a person shares information with you. So if you have someone in your office who's also using Verifyle a lot like you, and you don't need to get an email alert every time they send something to you, they're probably telling you, right? And you'll definitely see it when you're inside of Verifyle, then you can just block that particular individual. Languages, right now we have English, Spanish, and French. We will be adding other languages moving forward. Here I can change my password. Session management. I actually recommend that all of you go into the session management area. So let's take a look at this real quick here. I'm going to click on session management, and here you will see if you have any sessions that you left open on other browsers or other devices, and you can turn them off. But most importantly, you have the ability to click on this slider right here and indicate to Verifyle the amount of time after which, if you have been inactive in Verifyle, that Verifyle would automatically log you out. Okay, I like to leave it at about 1 or 2 hours. This is particularly helpful for those of you who might forget to sign out of your Verifyle systems. Okay, a lot of the other things here are relatively self-explanatory, so I'm noticing that we're already past the top of the hour, so I'm going to scoot forward quickly here. For Verifyle, by the way, here is an image of the public upload page, the custom public upload page that I talked to you about earlier. It just would not have these words at the bottom right here. Okay, but it would have your logo and any message that you choose to place in it right here. Okay, and so Verifyle is extremely easy to use. It's got patented encryption key management technology that only we have. You get unlimited electronic signatures at no charge. it still amazes me that there are people in your industry that are willing to pay $2 to $3 to $5 for IRS compliant signatures. Hopefully, you've come away from today's presentation with some ideas about how to add value for your clients that you might not have considered in the past. Okay, so all of this is part of Verifyle Gold, which is normally $22 per month, but as an NATP member, you can get it for $12 per month. You simply go to verifyle.com/NATP in order to sign up and get that discount. That's the only way you can get it. Okay, so verifyle.com/NATP, and what you will see is this, and then you can get in and begin using your Verifyle Gold system. Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful for all of you today. I hope you feel like you got some value from today's presentation. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick look here and see if I can address any questions for you. Okay, and I'm only going to be able to address a few here, but as I mentioned at the beginning, everyone will get an answer to their question. Okay, so I'm going to try and answer as many of these questions as possible with some general answers here. So Verifyle Gold is available for $12 a month to all NATP members, okay? Your clients do not have to pay anything to use Verifyle, okay? And also, yes, you get unlimited electronic signatures at no charge, and your clients communicate two ways with you. They can receive information from you, and they can also share information to you, all right? There is no file size limit with Verifyle, and I highly, highly doubt that any of you are going to bump into the storage limit. Your industry is document centric. There aren't a lot of videos and music and creative files and things like that. So that's something that you shouldn't have to worry about. With respect to how long information stays in Verifyle, you should assume that information you put inside of Verifyle remains in Verifyle. The exception to that is that you should keep in mind that if you create a workspace, like here I've created the client Christine Carson workspace, I do have the ability to do the following. Because I'm the host of this workspace, only I can, for example, go to a workspace thread, click on the gear icon, and delete that entire thread like this. I just deleted the estate planning workspace thread. I am the only one who has the ability to do that because I am the creator, the host of this workspace. Similarly, if I go to the home screen here, and let's say I decide that I want to delete the entire workspace called Client Christine Carson, I can do that, but it is a two-step process because deleting an entire workspace accidentally is a huge bummer, right? All right, so I can click on the gear icon right here, click on Archive Workspace, which just moved that Client Christine Carson workspace from the active colored workspace down here to the grayed out Archive Workspace area. All right, and if somebody were to add information to this workspace, yes, it would automatically be bumped back up to the colored workspace area. And I do have the option to click on the gear symbol and manually unarchive the workspace and move it back up here to the colored workspace area. And if in fact I decide I actually do want to delete this entire workspace, here's where I can do it. I can click delete workspace here and then click OK. And now you can see the entire Client Christine Carson workspace that we so diligently worked to create is completely gone. So yes, you can do that if you choose to do so. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you taking time to watch the presentation today. Thanks, everybody, and thank you to NATP as well.